Hey guys, it's Elisa, and today I have my second part of books that make me teary-eyed, cry, need a Kleenex, yeah. So it's going to be the next 10 books that you guys didn't see in part 1, so hope you enjoy. The next book is Lover Awakened by J.R. Ward. This is book 3 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and this follows one of my favorite brothers, which is Z. You guys have heard me talk about the Black Dagger Brotherhood, so I don't want to do it all over again because this video might be like longer than what I'm expecting it to be. So I don't want this to turn into just Black Dagger Brotherhood video. So he was kidnapped as a baby and was sold into slavery when he comes from a very wealthy, high-bred family. His book just basically follows his life when he was in slavery and when he escapes it, because he does escape it. You obviously know that from book 1, so really I'm really not spoiling anything by telling you guys that, because you'll know he's there in book 1. Book 2, he's not obviously in slavery, but you find that stuff out, so trust me, I'm not giving too much away. But just some of the situations that he was in, like, he wasn't just, like, he started off as just a regular slave, but then to go into being, like, a sex slave, and the things that this woman, I, I got teary-eyed so much. I hated the way they treated him. Like, I'm happy that it made him stronger, but it made him so broken. That always pulls at my heartstrings, and it always makes me tear up for Z. I really don't want to cry because Z's the type of man that wouldn't enjoy you crying. So, yeah. The next book is Prey by Rachel Vincent. This is the 4th book in her Shifter series. I think it's the Werecat series or Shifter series. I forget the name of the series, but this is book 4. In this story, it follows shifters that are werecats, and everybody has territories, kind of like the way werewolves do, but there's no werewolves in this world. And this is a story kind of like the Lords of the Underworld or Otherkin from like the Body of Sin series or book that I mentioned to you guys. This is a series where you get invested in the characters and you get invested in the world. So we meet Faith in book 1, who is the daughter of an alpha, one of the biggest alphas in their shifter world. He has more land, more property than anybody else. The first book is called Stray, and from there you kind of meet her family, like her dad, her mom, her 2 brothers, and other people that are in the pack or the pride. It's called the pride, sorry. So you kind of go from there and you kind of meet these characters, and there is like wars going on with people that are not in prides and people that are trying to take over territory and, stuff like that. Something very tragic happens in book 4. Like, it's right in the middle of the book, and it's, I think, like 20 pages or less, something like that, but it's right in the middle of the book that this happens, and I understand why she had to do it. If she didn't do it, this would have been it wouldn't have been a 6-book series the way that it was. And I don't want to tell you what happens, because as soon as I like read, I was like, no! And like, I dropped the book and I started crying. I was like, no, no, she wouldn't do this. Like, no, like, no. I couldn't, I just like stayed staring at the book literally for like 10 minutes before I was like, okay. And then I read it and I was like, she really did it. And I just like kept crying, and it was so heartbreaking. It was so emotional, and uh, you know, so, mm, this is the reason sometimes I hate when books are more than 3 books, because it's just something always happens, like in book 4 or 5 or 3, 3, 4, 5. Like, I've noticed in books that are like 6 or more, like something, little things, crucial things happen, and it's like you get sucked in and invested, and you just, But yeah, that one, bald. It is one of my favorite books. But of course, you would need to read books 1, 2, and 3. Book 1 is Stray, book 2 is Rogue, 3 is Pride, and then 4 is Prey. And I mean, after you read Prey, like, you want to know what's going to happen. Like, where does it kind of go from there? Because it basically rocks everybody's world that is close to faith. So, the fifth book is Shift, and then the last one is Alpha. The next book that I want to tell you guys about that makes me cry every time I read it is Shadowkiss. This is book 3 in the Vampire Academy series. And if you guys have read the Vampire Academy series and have read Shadowkiss, you guys all understand why this book makes me cry. I was so heartbroken after everything that they go through and whatnot. And for that to happen, and I'm so happy for book 6 for making it up to me, or as the time, book 4, 5, 6, goes on, the series goes on, I'm happy it makes it up. But book 3, every time I read it, makes me cry. Even though I know at the time, like before book 4, 5, and 6 came out, like obviously I didn't know, right? So it would always make me cry. But now that I know the ending and everything like that, like I know whatnot, like it still makes me cry. Just because ugh, you get so invested in these characters, and then something bad happens to them, it breaks your heart. So, yes, cried a lot with that one. The next one is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater, the first book in the Mercy Falls werewolf series, and this follows Grace and Sam. Grace is a human who has a fascination with the wolves in her backyard, basically, not realizing what kind of world is out there. The first time I read the book, I don't know if it's because I read it so fast that it just kind of like made me sad, kind of misty-eyed. That's about it. Like, no falling tears or anything like that. And then when I was getting ready for book 2, Linger, I reread Shiver, and I cried. Something happens in this book that's very heartbreaking. I cried. Like, it was so weird. So I don't know if it was a late reaction from the first time I read it, or if I read it too fast. Like I said, it did make me misty-eyed, but the second time I read it, I cried. I was like, no, even though, like, I already knew what was gonna happen, like, a couple chapters after that, and was just trying to get ready for book 2, but that is another one. If you guys want to get misty-eyed, Shiver is a good book. The next one is The Silver Kiss by Annette Klause. This is a vampire book. It was written back in like the 80s or something like that. So in this book, it follows Zoe and Simon. Zoe Human, Simon Vampire. Zoe's life is kind of being turned upside down with her mother being sick. And she meets Simon, and it kind of goes from there, and they get to know each other, and Simon kind of helps her, and then something happens, and it's so sad, and it makes me cry. And it has nothing to do with the obvious of her mother being sick, just to let you guys know. But yeah, really enjoyed the book. I think the tagline that got me was, when I bought the book, was because it was like, oh, before Twilight there was Silver Kiss or something like that. It's nothing like Twilight, I can guarantee you guys that. Totally different concept. This one, like I said, concentrates a lot on death, and it's just more on accepting it, overcoming it, just because a lot of things that are are happening, and like even learning from it, basically like how different people kind of cope with it. But the surprise of the book that it gave me teared me up. So yeah, if you haven't read it, check it out. The next one is the Succubus Dreams by Richelle Mead. This is the third book in the Georgina Kincaid series. Georgina Kincaid is a succubus. This is Richelle Mead's adult series, I should say. It follows Georgina Kincaid, who is a succubus, and her main love interest, who is Seth Morgenstein. He is a writer, and I like the way book one starts with her being a succubus and him being like this really famous writer, and she works in a bookstore, and it's just super cute. But the story kind of evolves from there. This book is the third book out of the 6-book series. See, Richelle Mead in the third book, like always cry. But yeah, this one I cried a lot. It was such an emotional roller coaster. There's like not one thing that I can say that will not ruin the whole third book for you guys, but it's another one that you are gonna have to read the first three before you, I'm sorry, the first two. Tearjerker. Tearjerker. The next one is Tempted by PC Cast and Kristin Cast. This is the 6th book in the House of Night series. I know a lot of people don't like this series. It is a guilty pleasure for me. I do enjoy it. There's times where I'm like, oh god. But I've invested so many hours into the series. I have read book 8, up to book 8, so 1 through 8, out of, I think there's 10 out so far. Book 11, I think, comes out October, November, something like that. But book 6 was so, I didn't expect what happened to happen. I was just like, whoa, even though, yeah, like, I mean, if you guys have read the series before, then you know what I'm talking about. If you Google it, you'll find out what I'm talking about. For some people that don't like spoilers, I don't want to tell you, if you've kind of picked up maybe like book 1 or 2 and then let it go and whatnot, and just because it wasn't your cup of tea or anything like that, if you want to pick up book 6, then, and have no problems really not knowing what happened in book 3, 4, 5, if, you know, the last book you read was 2. But book 6, oh my god, I cried. I cried. I didn't expect what happen, and but what can you do? What can you do? The next one is Unforgivable by Lindsay Delagair, and I have done a review on the first book. The second book is just as emotional. The two main characters spend a lot of time apart from each other, and there's a reason why. And yeah, I got teary-eyed a lot in that book, so yeah. The next one is The Vampire's Betrayal by Raven Hart. And yes, it's another vampire book. I did confess in my May wrap-up that I did go ahead and go through a period where I read a lot of vampire books, so sorry. But yeah, wait, what? No. So this book is the 4th book in the Savannah Vampire series. There's only 5 books in the series. I hate what happened. I didn't expect what happened. I teary-eyed. It's another one. So, if you guys like vampire books, check that one out. So, the last one that I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys is the Vampire Diaries, The Fury by L.J. Smith. This is the 3rd book in the Vampire Diaries series. This one, for very obvious reasons, made me cry. If you guys have read the book, you know. I don't want to spoil this for anybody. I don't know who has or hasn't read the Vampire Diaries. I know sometimes vampires are not someone's cup of tea. Yvette. So, yeah. That one made me cry. I was like, no! But, oh well. This is my 20 book list of books that made me cry, bawl, misty-eyed, teary, silent tears, whatever, needed a napkin or my hands to wipe my tears away. I wonder if you guys have read any of these books that I mentioned. I want to know if you guys had the same reaction I did, or you didn't like it, didn't continue the series, or anything like that. Let me know in the comments down below. If there's any other books that you guys got teary-eyed about or pulled your heartstrings or cried or anything like that, let me know. I'm always up for a good cry. In case I have not read it yet, I would love to. I love emotional books. I know the ones that I mentioned were not like your typical ones. Like, I know everybody says like The Fault in Our Stars, that a lot of people have cried in it. I own The Fault in Our Stars. I have not read it yet. Don't hurt me. I'm sorry. I just recently got it. I just haven't picked it up yet, but I will. So besides that one, is there any other books? Let me know. You guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Talk to you soon. Bye!